Hi. This book is called Tiny Feet, Between the Mountains, and it's written and illustrated by Hana Cha, and she is a Korean American, and she spent time between Korea and America as she was growing up, and she is an author. And I want to just give a little preview of something that's in this book, and there's a little bit of Korean mysticism or talks about spirit animal. So I just want to tell you that before we start reading, in case you want to skip it. And there's over 200 other books you can listen to on this channel if you want. But I just wanted to give that heads up. It's from the culture, and I think that some children are able to navigate that that's just a cultural thing, and it's not true. But if you have a child that's sensitive to that, or if that's something you want to skip, go for it. Okay. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is what's happening in the village right now. Once upon a time, in a large village between two tall mountains, there was a small child. Her name was So-in, which means tiny person. When others took 2 steps, she needed to take 4. 1 handful for others meant 3 armfuls for So-in. But this never stopped her. There's a little picture of her. The people in So-in's village often competed to see who was the strongest and loudest. They even boasted that they were bigger and more fearless than the spirit tiger rumored to protect the surrounding forest and mountains. So-in would study the other villagers and complete each task in her own way. How can someone so tiny keep up? The villagers would whisper to each other. But still, So-in refused to give up. One morning, the villagers woke up to find the sky was filled with thick, black smoke and red embers. Thunder boomed and echoed between the mountains, and the sun was nowhere to be seen. The chieftain asked for a volunteer to go into the mountains and see what had made the sun disappear. The crowd was silent. When still no one spoke up, So-in took a deep breath and said, "Sir, I will go." Suddenly, the villager's voice rang out. "You can't even carry my pot. How can you bring back the sun? You will be lost in those woods." So-in was startled by the outburst, but then she calmly folded up her sleeves and tightened her braid. The brave little girl knew she had to try. She ran home to pack her pink bojaji, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, full of supplies for her journey. Here she is in the dark forest since the sun disappeared. Boy, she has a lot of bravery, doesn't she? So-in knew she was close when she reached the part of the forest where the smoke was the thickest, the hissing sparks were the hottest, and the thunder was the loudest. Suddenly, So-in stopped dead in her tracks. She couldn't believe her eyes. It was the spirit tiger. You see my little tiger right here? So-in took a step back. She had only ever heard stories about the great spirit tiger. She noticed that heavy tears dripped, drip, drip from the tiger's eyes. And his fur was covered in crackling flames. Looking up, she dared to ask, "Great spirit tiger, what is the matter?" "I am the great protector of the mountains and forests, so I wanted to rule the sky too. I chased the sun with all my might, but when I opened my mouth to roar, I accidentally swallowed it." Now the sun is angry and trying to burn me from the inside. Let me help you, So-In said. He pulled away. You are a mere tiny child. What can you do? The tiger sounded as doubtful as the villagers, but surely he was wrong about her. I can help, she said. So-In took out the bottles from her bojaji. She sprinkled the water on his fur, but there were too many flames to put out. Remembering the river, she guided the tiger there. But when they got close, the flames on his fur dried up the water. So-In tried blanketing the fire with mud instead, but it was no use. Maybe the villagers and the spirit tiger are right. Maybe there is nothing I can do. So-In sighed sadly. I cannot keep up with the flames on the outside. But then Zoe got an idea. She'd been so focused on what was happening on the outside that she'd forgotten the real problem was on the inside. Spirit tiger, please hold still. Using her pink bojaji to protect her hands from the flames, So-In climbed up the tiger's tail and onto his back. She crawled through the angry, riled fur, using her tiny hands and feet to tickle the tiger. The spirit tiger began to shake with laughter until smoke filled his nose. Shoo! Losing her footing, So-In began to fall. But the tiger caught her small body in his large paw, his eyes twinkling like stars. He roared with delight. I can't believe it! You did it! Thank you for your help! Come, let me bring you home. Down in the village, So-In could see the people scrambling and yelling with fear at the sight of the spirit tiger. They suddenly looked very tiny. So-In climbed off the tiger and beckoned the villagers forward. One by one, they came out and listened to So-In's tale. When she was finished, So-In introduced the villagers to the spirit tiger. Celebration and cheering erupted, and the spirit tiger kissed So-In on the head. He bestowed a blessing on her and the village before returning to the mountains and forests. From that day forward, the villagers were kinder towards So-In, and she was known as the greatest of them all. It says, author's note, long ago in Korea, tigers used to roam freely between the mountains and villages. People would fear the tigers, but at the same time, they saw tigers as a symbol of respect, strength, and dignity. Tigers constantly appear in Korean stories and images, sometimes as deities, sometimes as threats. Regardless of their role, tigers always offered a moral and guided the Korean people. Many Koreans believed that their country was shaped like a tiger and that their spirit animals were tigers. Because of colonization, tigers are now extinct in Korea, but it says their spirit lives on in strength of the Korean people. So I hope you enjoyed this book, and I hope no matter what size you are as a person, that you realize that you have strengths. And Prego and I hope you have a great day.